So let me guess, you're here on today's training because you've been doing everything that you thought was right. You've been following your parents, what society told you. You've been following the mentors, yet you're not feeling that freedom that you thought you were going to get. You're not feeling that inner success, that fulfillment, that happiness. Even though you might have the success, you might have the materialistic items, you might have the family, you might have the money, yet for some reason you're still feeling the lack. You're still feeling the unfulfillment, searching, where can I finally find it? Well, that's what I call the logic trap. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another training. Today, we're going to be discussing the logic trap, how your animal brain keeps you stuck and unfulfilled, and how to finally break free. So you might be feeling like this box right here. And I'll tell you, this was me all the way up from about 2019 when I first built my first successful business, all the way up to about 2025, early 2025. I built the business, I made the online company, I got myself free, I made over $1 million by 25, and I thought I had it going. But you know what happened was I was working nonstop days from a place of not even enjoyment at the end of it, not even enjoyment through most of it, honestly. What happened for me was I was always coming from a place of it was never enough, always coming from a place of lack, where it's like, I need to go work my guts out because when I work a lot, then I kind of feel a little bit happier. I kind of feel pretty good. I need to go make more money to feel like I'm important, to feel like I'm good enough. I need to do all these things. But the crazy thing is that the more money I made, the more stressed out I was. The more money I made, the less free I felt. It was a complete 180. And the same thing for fulfillment. I was building a successful business. I was young. I am young. And yet that feeling wasn't there. All I felt was it's still never enough. No matter what I do, no matter how long I work, I can't seem to get that feeling from the things that I thought were going to give me that feeling. Because think of it. When you want to make money, when you want to accomplish success in your life, when you do the things that you do for your family or whatever it may be, why do you do it? You do it because of the feeling you think you're going to get from it, right? You work so hard, you work your guts out at your job, and you get treated like crap, but you work your guts out. Why do you do that? Because the thought is, if I go work, then that means I must be important. If I make this money, therefore I'm providing. If I make this money, then I think I'm going to feel free. I don't have to worry about my bills or losing money or going into poverty. But do you actually feel that way? No, it's a cycle, right? For some reason, we go out and we do those things that we thought, would give us the feeling, but we don't get it. And that's the things that we always do things for the feeling we think it's going to make us feel. So you might be feeling this way, stuck in this trap, right? Where it's like, okay, I have this idea of success, but yet I don't have the feelings. Like I don't have the happiness. I don't feel the love. I don't feel the joy. I don't feel like I felt when I was a little kid. I don't feel the fun in my life. I don't feel the flow. I don't feel the freedom. And there might be a part of you, and I ask you today that you put this part of you aside for today's training. The part of you might be like, well, yeah, that's just how it works, man. This is reality. You got to suffer your way to success. You can't always be happy. You can't always be in joy and fun. You got to grow up some days. You got bills. You got to do all this crap. I ask you to put that side aside today, unless you want to keep feeding that personal reality. If that's the personal reality that you want to keep living in, then this video isn't going to be for you. But if you want to get to a place today where you genuinely feel in flow, where you wake up with pure passion, excitement, and energy for life, where you feel like you're actually living life and not just taking part in this kind of video game where you're just going through the roles and motions on the day-to-day, but you're genuinely feeling drained. You feel like you're missing that soul. If you're ready to get that back, this is going to be for you, because in 2025, I made that switch for myself. I closed the doors to a company that was making multiple six figures every single year that gave me the freedom and everything that I thought that I wanted. But I hit this point where I knew deep within my soul, there was this new purpose unveiling. There was this new journey unveiling. And on that journey was a complete breakdown of my old self, of my old programming, how I thought the world should be, how I thought I should be. And inside that void was a recreated Khaden, a recreated version of myself who now acts in alignment, who now comes from the right place, where everything outside of me is just a reflection of how I already feel within. So imagine for a second where you genuinely felt so rich and abundant inside that you're no longer worried about paying that bill that you need to pay. You're no longer worried about having to need to go work constant overtime, having to work your guts out to feel like you're successful and actually making things happen. And instead, you come from the place within, you genuinely feel that freedom, and then every single thing else outside of you becomes a reflection of that. So maybe you even love working those long hours, but now it's going to come from a place of actual love and joy and flow and freedom rather than a place of lack and grit and burnout. That's what we're going to do here today, okay? So the trap, how do we get out of the animal mind and connect with our higher mind and find that perfect middle balance? So let me erase this, and as I do so, I'm going to give you an explanation of what we're going to go over. So what you should know is that in today's world, especially if you're from the Western society, we live in a day and age where it is more masculine push. And that's just the word that we put on it. It doesn't mean you have to be a guy or a girl. That is just the label that we put on it, is we come from a masculine push of energy. And this is where a lot of us get to that place where we're not happy, we're very unfulfilled, we're not doing the things that we genuinely want to do in life. We feel like we're just kind of walking and living through the motions. We're coming from a place of scarcity and this need to control everything, in this place of lack, that we're not good enough, we're lacking purpose and self-worth. It all comes from that. It is this too much of a push, I guess you could say, when it comes to the masculine versus the feminine. Here's what I mean. So, let's say on the right side, this is your masculine energy, okay? What's happening nowadays is we're way too far, so we'll say you. What's happening is that many of us are way too far on the masculine side, especially most of the men in today's society as well. Now, the masculine energy is more so about logic brain. It's about control. It's about push, grit, force, act, all of those things there. Planning, schedule, strategy. That is more so the masculine push. So as you see in today's world, that's kind of the notion, I guess you could say. You know, success means that you must suffer your way to success. The world is hard. You have to work hard. You have to grind your guts out to make in this world. It's competitive. You have to beat that other person. It's that inner drive, right? That, ooh, I'm coming for the world. That stoicism mind where it's like, emotions don't matter. This is the plan, the strategy, and we're going to make the plan and strategy work. That is the masculine push. Now, that's needed. That's absolutely needed. But the problem is that we're too far swung to this side. And then there's the opposite side. And the opposite side is, someone put it really perfectly, it's like the Peter Pan syndrome, where you're too far off in La La Land. So it's like everything's working out and all this stuff, blah, 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 but you're not acting upon it. You're self-sabotaging. You're lying to yourself. You're living in a fairy tale, but you're not acting upon that fairy tale. Okay, so it's too flowy. There's no actual structure, and it's just too far off in the deep end, we'll say. So what we need here, because the feminine side is more so flow, intuition, love, following the passion. That's the feminine energy. That's the feminine side, right? So even nowadays too, like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was brought up very old school, and we're taught, like, as men, to your emotions don't matter. Don't cry. You have to be tough and strong, which there's always a time and place for something like that. But when we're too far off, the pendulum swings too far, there's an unbalance. And then we come from this place of, like, for example, love, right? Love on the more feminine side, the more proper balance would be unconditional love. I'll let you flow, let you go do your thing. I love you no matter what. Unconditional love. Too much on the masculine is more so controlled, conditioned love. You have to go do this thing and then I'll praise you. Go get good grades and then you're a good boy or a good girl. Go win this sport. You have to be the best and then I'll praise you. But if you suck, you're going to be punished. That brings you up to believe that your worth, your love, must come from outside of you, and you have to go earn it. But when you do that, guess where you're coming from? You're always coming from a place of, I'm unloved. I'm not good enough. I need to go work my guts out and do all these things and people please so I can hopefully feel a little bit of love. Why would you do that to yourself when you don't have to? The reason why is because we don't even know it. This is just a part of our programming and conditioning. So again, the goal today is how do we get to this middle spot here? How do we connect the feminine and the masculine together? And this is what we would call to become a conscious creator of our lives. All right, so let's dive into it. So now you're a little more clear on the mix, why it is kind of the way it is. Let's make it a little more deeper. By the way, guys, if you like, make sure you like and subscribe for more growth, more personal transformation as well. All right, so let's say you have 2 ovals. And this is the feminine. And this is the masculine. So you have 2 ovals here, feminine side, masculine side. So on the masculine side, we have push, we have force, we have more so ego, control, plan, logic. You get it. So masculine side, we got push, force, ego / control, planning, logic, brain, the animal part of us. The part of us that just wants safety, security. Okay, so this is more so the animal brain. Part of us that just wants mostly safety and security. Now, here's an example I want to give to you. Imagine, for example, you're driving at nighttime, and in the dark, you have to rely on your headlights to see ahead of you, right? But imagine if you only came from the animal brain when you're driving. You would not be able to go farther than what the light can see. Because the animal brain is like, I cannot trust in the unknown. I can't trust in my flow, in my senses, in my natural intuition that I should just keep driving. No, I need to see the road ahead of me. I need to make sure that I know that exact step is there. So I'm going to push. I'm going to slowly walk up. I'm going to slowly, hopefully, see the next steps. When the feminine side is more so, you trust in that unknown. You go with the flow. I want to drive this way. I can't see every single step, but my heart is pushing me there. My heart is pulling me there. So I'm flowing with that. That would be more so the feminine side. So this is where it's more so emotions. This is where it's like flow, intuition, love, joy. That's the feminine side. Emotions, flow, intuition, joy, love, kind of that mix there. Okay? So you have the masculine and you have the feminine. Now again, most of us, we're stuck on the masculine side. Now the reasoning why, it just comes down to how we're brought up in today's world, how it all works. Let me show you. So here's kind of how it works, how the mind works. So that. I know my mic kind of picks up on these squeaky noises, so just work with me here. Okay, so here's how it works. This is why the masculine mostly takes over in today's day and age. Okay, so when you're younger, when you're a little child, right, the way that you survive in this world is that you must understand where you fit into the world, how the world kind of works, to get a good idea of your sense of self and how things are. So many of us are brought up the old school way. If we kind of live in, Gen Z, millennials, etc. Most of us kind of brought up the old way. So we have this past conditioning, the masculine push, right, where it's like brought up to where, you're conditioned to where you must work hard to succeed. money was always stressful in your family. You always have to work long hours to make money. You have to push your way there. You can't follow your dreams in life. You can't go do what you love in life. You got to take the safe road. You got to just work for comfort. Just trying stability. You don't want to go step out of the line. That's kind of what was programmed into us, was conditioned into us, what we were kind of taught and learned through childhood. And that kind of creates, this is what we would call then your sense of self. Okay, so all this gets programmed into you, creates your sense of self. This then influences how you perceive your personal reality. Because through this conditioning, from a young child, you start to form, let me write it in a different color. You start to form beliefs. You start to form fears. And your nervous system kind of gets stabilized to what's a threat and what's not a threat. So like success, money, people, relationships, love, how you react, how you see things. This influences that. Okay? And then how the brain works, what we know is that your beliefs are basically the instructions for your personal reality, for your brain. What I mean by that is that whatever you believe to be true at a core about the world, about yourself, your brain then focuses in on that and excludes everything else that does not serve that belief. Your brain will lie to you. So you go out and your brain will then search for evidence in your external world to reconfirm that belief. It will even change how you give meaning to situations. So something good or bad, or just something happens, your brain will give that a certain meaning that confirms with the belief system that you have. So it's running kind of on autopilot, on constant predictability. Your brain is a prediction machine. It's always trying to predict your reality. And that's why you keep seeing and experiencing most of the same stuff. And that's why you're like, hey, well, I'm hearing you, but like I'm still stuck in success is hard. I don't know any other way. And that's why we get to set that part of us aside for a second here today. Because that part is trying to scream and always come alive, because what happens is that we learned this, far, far masculine way of being, and we bring that into, now it forms our beliefs. We have fears around certain things that shape us. It's stabilizing our nervous system. But also what happens is that your beliefs, so first of all, your beliefs, and now you're searching the external world for reconfirmation. But what also happens is that your beliefs form identity, who you believe you are. Okay, who you believe you are. And this comes from your feelings plus your thoughts. Okay, thoughts and emotions held over time create identity, who you believe you are, which then influences actions in life that produce results. Now, another thing though is that once you have a sense of self, you also have ego. And ego is protector of identity. Ego's number one job is to protect that identity. And that's why it can be so hard for people to change. So if this is how you're brought up into the world, this masculine push and focus and what you saw your parents be and your personal experiences, and that's now what you believe, right? Is that's the way to go. Then, so if you believe that success is hard, success means suffering, then again, your beliefs are, your beliefs unconditionally will support you. And what that means is that even if it's not universally true, right? Because is it universally true that you must suffer to succeed? No, it's not universally true. So what happens is that if you believe that to be true, though, your brain will then go find evidence for that in your external world to reconfirm it. And that is your beliefs just playing out its role. It's doing its job. And then if you truly believe that, eventually it becomes your sense of self, who you believe yourself to be. So it's like, I'm a hard worker. I'm a successful person. Well, success is tied in with suffering. So I'm going to suffer. I'm going to find ways to suffer. I'm going to think in ways that cause me suffering. I'm going to ignore my happiness and my emotions because that does not matter, because I care most about success. I want success. I need to go out and get success. And I know that success means suffering. Or money is hard to make. That's a belief system It's who I believe I am, how I believe about the world. I'm going to go find that confirmation in the outer world. Now, what happens is that the identity doesn't want to die. The ego does not want to die. The ego wants to stay alive as much as possible, but it can only exist in the past or the future. Okay, so it's always trying to predict the future by going off past information. And this is why most of us are blinded to new things going on, new changes, to more awareness. So the ego protects identity, okay? Who you believe yourself to be. These beliefs that are formed long ago are usually negative, disempowering, again, more of the masculine push in today's world. So now we're stuck in this constant cycle, right? Where I always need to work my guts out. I'm not fulfilled. I'm not happy, but it doesn't matter. I shouldn't care about it. I should just care about the next dollar. I should care about just making sure I'm safe and secure. I'm paying my bills, whatever it may be for you, right? Whatever it may be. But again, you're sitting here as a soul and you're like, I'm so burnt out. I'm so unhappy. I'm so unfulfilled. What do I do with my life? Like, I can't keep going this way. What is the purpose of life if this is all I do? If I just work hard and I don't use my passions and my love, and where did that child's self even go? Let's bring them back. So here's what we have to do. Okay? So this is kind of the reasoning, I guess you could say, the reasoning behind why you feel stuck this way, why it kind of is this way, how the brain works, the beliefs, fears, identity, ego, why this is all happening. Now, before I move on, I want to show you one more example on how this can work in real time. So let's say from a young age, or your personal experience in the world, let's say that you had a belief around lack. Let's say your belief was around love. Love, success, something around the lines there. Okay? So let's say you were brought up with a limiting belief of I'm not worthy. Okay? You were brought up with a limiting belief of I'm not worthy. Someone who believes they're not worthy, what are they going to think and how are they going to feel about themselves? Right? They're going to think I'm not deserving. I'm less. Nothing works for me. I don't fit in, etc. And how are they going to feel from that? Sad, right? Not enough. Lack. Might even be scared. They're not going to feel good. So thoughts plus feeling equals state, which is identity, your state of being. And this influences actions, right? Who you believe yourself to be will naturally form your actions. That's why you don't need motivation to succeed. You have the identity of someone who is a successful person. Because your actions naturally come from your identity. Okay, your behaviors come from your identity. So then actions produce results, right? So if that's money, that's love, that's happiness, whatever it may be. So somebody with the limiting belief of I'm not worthy, which many of us are brought up with very limiting beliefs, right? So someone with the limiting belief of I'm not worthy, they think and feel this way about themselves, right? That creates sadness, not enough, the lack feeling. And then that forms their identity over time. Now, their actions. When you come from a place of lack, of I'm not enough, of I'm not worthy, what does that look like, right? Well, here's what it looks like. So you come from this place, right, of lack. When you go out into your external world, no matter what you accomplish, you're going to accomplish one thing in the end, and that is more lack. And the reason why is because, like I said before, your beliefs are the instructions for your brain. So you believe you're not worthy. You think and feel that way. It creates your identity. When you go take action, your actions are limited to what you believe to be true about yourself. Okay? because the brain is only trying to find confirmation for this lack of worth. So you might feel this sadness. You might come from major insecurity, major not enoughness. And that's why it's pushing you so hard to work and accomplish so much success and work through the burnout. But you keep finding more lack. And it's only because that's all your brain is looking for. Because you're coming from this place of I'm not worthy, and you don't want to feel not worthy, but that's your state of being. That's your state of being. Law of attraction shows that you can only attract what it is that you are. So state, as I mentioned, when we talk about kind of the spiritual side of things, is when you have a certain set frequency. So frequency is literally what you attract, right? If the radio dial is on 99.5, I change it to 100, I'm now receiving channel 100. I'm only receiving it though because I tuned into it, right? I changed the frequency and I'm focused on it. So now I'm attracting it. So when you vibrate at this level of sad, not enough, lack, right? When you come from that state of being, when that is what you believe to be true of I'm not worthy, your brain then finds that in your external world. So this is why, like, okay, I'm never enough. I feel never enough. And I go work my guts out and I accomplish all these things, but I still feel not enough. The reason why is because you're starting from a place of empty. So you're going to find more emptiness. The feelings that you want, the fulfillment, the happiness that you want, it must come from within first. Because if you always put it outside of you, you'll never find it. You're stuck in the trap, in the loop. And it's just how the brain works, but it's how we work as a soul level as well as energetic beings. Is when you come from lack, when you come from not enough, I promise you, it's all you'll find in your external world. The materialistic items will only feel good temporarily, and then you're on to the next chase, the next high, whatever it may be. And your life will only change once you realize that this crap is not true. The crap that you need to go do things to receive love. The crap that you need to, you're not worthy, you're not deserving. You need to go prove yourself in the world. It's all BS. It's all past programming. It's all, old stuff that was taught into us. That's no longer in alignment with where the world is. That's no longer in alignment with who you genuinely are, who you want to be. So you can keep playing that animal game and thinking and feeling that way, but it's going to keep you in a trap. And the only time that things will actually change in your life is you realize that it's a limiting belief. It's not a truth. It's a limiting belief that you're not worthy or whatever it may be. So once you can change this limiting belief, right, to an empowering belief of, let's say, I am enough. I am who I am, and that is enough, right? Just imagine when you genuinely change that belief, it's going to cause a ripple effect. And now you're going to start to think and feel differently. Okay, I am enough. How are you going to think and feel then when you feel like you're enough, right? Well, I'm probably going to think highly of myself. I'll be proud of myself. I'm going to feel very good and at flow and at ease. And I'm going to really tune into myself a lot more. And I'll probably change the way I take action in the world because I won't need to do these things I thought I need to do because I already feel this way. So I won't need to go crazy on these things. And actually, maybe I'll think of a better and easier way to accomplish those things that's in alignment with how I already feel. Oh my gosh, now you're changing your life. Now you're changing your life. As soon as you change the dial in your beliefs, now your focus is different, your thoughts are different, your feelings are different, and you're attracting a brand new reality. Because how do you get new results in your life? Comes from new actions. New actions come from identity, which is formed through new thoughts and emotions held over time, neurons that fire together, wire together, which come from your core belief system. So as soon as you change those beliefs, everything else down the line will change. So if you come from a place of there's not enough in the world, I'm scarcity, there's lack in the world, you will be the poorest person in the world. And it doesn't matter if you go make $1 billion or not, you are still going to come inside and say and feel it's not enough. What if I lose it all? I need more. And that's where evil and greed starts to play out. Because it's that animal inside who's so scared trying to stay alive. Because we're too far off on the deep end on the masculine. So let's do the switch. All right, so the switch is, and this switch might be one of the best things that happens to you this year. And how you show up, how you work, how you take action with your family, yourself, so many things. Okay, so let's call it the shift. The shift. Again, guys, make sure you like and subscribe if you're digging this content. Like and subscribe for more downloads and transformation. Okay, here's the shift. The shift is, so old way, so we'll say old mind versus, and this is where we call the higher mind starts to play. Okay, old mind, we'll draw this in red. The old mind is so old mind is the limited self. So this is where you're relying on your limited beliefs, your fears, your programming to then shape your thinking and your logic. And then that shapes actions and results. And here's the thing. Now, you can still, like, again, I made the money and I accomplished the success in business from this way. You can do that. The point of today is that that's not the fulfilling path, though. That's not the purposeful path. And you do these things because you want to feel the purpose, the path, the happiness. A lot of people say, F happiness doesn't matter. Why? Like, why not be happy if you can be happy? So you can do this and you can still succeed. I think a lot of it has to come from major insecurity, major discipline and grit, though. It's very rare. That's why it's very rare for people to succeed at a high level. So you can do this and you can become successful. But the better way, the aligned way that's actually going to give you all those great senses and feelings, it's completely different. But it's not a huge difference. It's one small shift. So this way, the old mind is you take your limiting beliefs, your fears, your programming, this limited self, and you use that thinking and that logic to then come up with a strategic plan, right? Actions. And then you take action and you get results in your life. But it's a reconfirmation of the limited self, right? Of that old state. I'm not enough. Money is hard to make. Success means you need to be greedy. Success is evil. You come from that place, you take action from that place, you find it in your external life, no matter what it is that you accomplish. The new way, the higher mind way is state first, aligned actions, results. So state as in the feminine side first. State, I want to get myself in state, so I want to be rich. Okay, I want to be rich. What does that feel like? I feel freedom, flow. That's the emotions. I feel freedom and flow. That's what I'm tuning into. So I'm going to get my state of being. So I'm going to get from where I'm feeling this way and I'm thinking this way as the person I want to be. Okay. And as soon as I get into that state where I'm thinking and feeling like that richness or that unconditional love in my life, that beautiful marriage, that financially free, not worrying about bills, as soon as I get into that state, then I take action. Because this is called aligned action. You're not taking action from lack or not enough. You're taking action from fulfillment first. Okay? You want to be rich because you want to be free. So you don't take action from lack and say, I need to go get rich. I'm so poor. I need to go get rich. And you come from lack and you knit and grit your way there. You step into what it's already like to be rich. You feel rich. You feel the freedom and flow. You start thinking that way. And based off those new thoughts and feelings, you take aligned action. And that action should still feel free and flow and whatever it is that you're coming from. And then the results is the cherry on top. You find more and more and more of it. And then here's what's going to happen. So that's the first thing that we want to do. This is a shift. Okay, it's important that we understand the shift from the old mind to the higher mind. State first, thoughts and feelings, aligned actions, then creates the results. And it makes sense because the person that you want to be, the results, right? The rich version of you, they're already thinking and feeling this way now. So what makes you think that you must think and feel as the person you are and expect to get rich? It's better off to step into the state of how they would already think and feel, then take action from that. And that's aligned action. And this is what you should know. I'll leave you off with a little cherry on top before we end today's training. So now you're coming from the higher mind. And this is where you're taking more trust in intuition, because here's the thing. This version, this is strategic. This is planning only. This is not intuition and love and passion. So it's like, okay, limited self-thinking. I need the knit and grit. I'm going to work 16-hour days and I want to get rich. AI is going to be the way to go. Okay, logically, that's very smart. But what if your heart's not in it? You're not passionate about it. You make all the money, but now you're depressed as ever. You don't have the family. You don't have all the other things that you want. So get into the state, think and feel. Ooh, how would I do an AI coaching program that's going to help people with their mental health? Or I can do an AI coaching thing around other coaches who help people with their mental health. That way I'm coming from purpose and passion, because my passion is to help people change their mental health. Now it's an alignment. Now you're thinking with the masculine, but also you're backing out the feminine. So you're going to go build that. You'll still make the money and everything, but you're also bringing the purpose, the passion with you. Okay? But in doing so, the answers are not always going to be there. And this is where you have to trust in your flow and your intuition. You have to trust in the world and things working out for you, because you're not always going to know the next steps. Because the next steps, that's coming from the controlled part. That's coming from the part of you that wants to control every step, to plan, and you can only see within that lens. But when you tap into the emotional side, the flow and freedom, it's going to take you on a completely different path. This is the higher mind. It takes you on a completely different path of like, okay, right now, like here's an example. You use a masculine, you might wake up and say, I need to get immediately to work. Emotions don't matter. I don't care if I have these other needs. I'm getting to work from lack, okay? And go grit and grit and grit. The aligned, the proper feminine masculine mix is you wake up, get into state. Okay, this is how I'm thinking and feeling as I'm rich. I feel like I need to go on a nature walk first. Doesn't make sense, because I know work usually produces results, but remember, that's limited thinking, right? We can only think within those belief systems. So if you always believe that you must work for money, that's the program that'll play out. But when you start to tap into the new paradigm, the new sense, the new state, then it's like, I gotta go for a walk. You might go for a walk then. You might meet a billionaire or a millionaire if you want to be rich, have a conversation with them, build a new networking. They might give you an idea. Then you come home, you take action on that and build it, and you get rich faster than the other way. That is aligned action. That's coming from state first. You have to have trust in that unknown. You have to be willing to let go of control of what you don't need to control, the when or the how. The when or the how. And you need to get into that state, and you follow that state, you follow that flow, that push, and you trust it's going to lead you exactly where you need to be. And that's where you get in synchronized. That's where Carl Jung talks about synchronicities. That's where you literally feel like you're playing with God, not against God. You get out of animal mode and you're in full spirit mode. You are in full flow mode. And everything starts to unravel and unfold for you so beautifully and so perfectly, it feels effortless. Why? Because you're acting on passion and love, because that's where you're coming from. And guess what? You cannot run out of fuel when it comes from love and passion. You do it every day, and it comes from love and joy, and it's so effortless. You enjoy it. Rather than knit and grit your way there. And I did both. And guess what? Both work to get the materialistic items. So why not come from the place of greatness within, right? The joy, the love within. It'll change your entire life. So I'm going to show you really quickly, though, one last thing that you should be aware of as you're doing this, and then I'll leave you off for today. Because some of you are going to, or a lot of you, my goal is that you guys genuinely take action on this and do this. So I want to prepare you for what you should expect as this does happen. And this is all part of the journey. This is all part of growth. Okay? This is how you truly change your vibration, how you truly attract a better life. So, All right, so here's what's going to happen. So you start, all right, you step into state, and you take a line to action, and everything's going good. And then what's going to happen on this journey is that you're going to run into resistance. This here is resistance. Now, resistance is going to be, let's say you're taking action, and let's say you have a limited belief that money is hard to make. But now you're stepping into state and you're taking aligned action off that. So you want to make more money, but your guide's telling you to do new projects that are a little bit easier. You don't have to work so hard on them, and telling you to go into nature more and work less. Now what's happening is you're having an identity conflict, and this is resistance, because your old identity, your old belief systems are money is hard to make. So you're not following that program. So this is where you start to get resistance, right? The program starts to glitch. And this is where you need to not react. You can't step into ego. Ego wants you to react. You need to be the observer of your life and trust in the flow, in the state, trust in the intuition, trust in that process. Because you're going to do this, things are going to start working differently. It's going to be really cool, right? You're not going to follow the path that your mind thinks you should take because you're coming from state. And then you're going to experience this resistance. It's just an identity mismatch. Your actions are going one way, your old identity is going another way. So then this is what you need to do, is you need to calm your nervous system. You need to calm yourself down, and you need to keep taking that aligned action and then dissect those negative feelings. Okay, this resistance, how would I describe this resistance right now? I feel very scared. I feel very off, unhappy. I feel very not like myself. What would I have to believe? Because remember, it's a belief, right? It's a belief that's causing this emotion. What would I have to believe to be true about myself to be feeling this way right now, that I'm not on the right track? Was that genuinely true? No, I'm coming from the right place. So what would I have to be scared of, or what would I have to believe to be true to think that way? Oh, I have to believe that money is hard to make and I'm not doing what I should do to make money. Okay, is that universally true? And money's hard to make? No, it's not universally true, right? It's not universally true at all. So what must be true? Well, what must be true is that money just flows to me. Money is energy. Money is an expression of myself. I attract money. Money is a tool. I love money. Money flows to me easy and effortlessly. Okay, that belief feels a lot better. That belief makes me think differently about it, feel a lot better about it, now find evidence to reconfirm that belief. Boom. Here's what happened. You just worked through a limiting belief. So resistance pops up because it's a limiting belief. You're going against the program. You just worked through that limiting belief, and now you can continue to expand your life. Now you can continue to, we'll say this is your frequency, right? Your vibration. So down here is like anger, sadness, despair, not enough, lack. Up here is joy, love, passion, fulfillment. Now you can fully step into the state nonstop, and you can keep rising, keep feeling better, keep attracting more good in your life. So you should expect this on your journey. That resistance is going to happen because it's basically old programming falling apart, falling off. So new programming, new belief systems, new empowering beliefs, new empowering identity can take form. That's in alignment with now the way you're acting and being in the world, which is coming from state first, then taking aligned action. So feminine energy first. What do I love? What is my passion? Then take action off it. And then as you're taking action, you can use the masculine to then plan it strategically in alignment with how you feel, how you genuinely want to be. And when you do that, not only do you get the materialistic results, but you also get the passion, the love, the fire within. As you can see from me, I genuinely love doing this. This does not feel like work for me at all. So that is the training for today, ladies and gentlemen. I can dive deeper on resistance later on if you guys want, but I just want to give you a little tidbit there. If you're doing this and you notice resistance and you feel all messy and like, your thoughts and you're worried and you're scared, totally part of it. It's just old programming trying to stay alive, and you just need to not react to it, because then you collapse back, and you need to see it for how it is, remove the limiting beliefs or the fears that you have that's causing you to feel and think that way in the first place. As soon as you let those go, new empowering beliefs can come in that are in alignment with you. You program those beliefs in. That's when success becomes autopilot. Because once you believe that to be true, right? You believe that money flows to you, that money is easy to make, then your brain has to go find that in the external world. It has to go find evidence to reconfirm that old belief system. And that belief system creates identity, which influences actions, which influences results, kind of how manifesting works. So that's the training for today, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you like and subscribe if this helped you, and I'll see you on the next training.